partner and CEO of Prominent Properties, Sotheby's International Realty. And today we're going to talk about how to diversify your strategies that break barriers and expand the business in a post-Burnett world, and some of you know it as the Sitzer-Burnett world, which is the class action lawsuit against large brokers and the National Association of Realtors. Joining me today will be Colette Stevenson, the CEO and President of Resides, Daniel Dennis, President of Illustrated Properties, and Ija Johnson, CEO and founder, Ija Johnson Group, brokered by eXp Realty. You know, I think we're going to cover a lot of territory for you today, but I think the most important thing to know about this is we're all learning at the same time, because this is a new world that we've not been used to. When the MLS changes its rules about the display of compensation, the mandatory buyer agency agreements for many states that are used to it, and I've heard numbers between 16 and 18 states having a mandatory buyer's agency agreement, but that means most of us have not had it as mandatory. And for me in New Jersey, it will be new territory as well. So at this point, I'd like to welcome our sponsor, Colette Stevenson, the CEO and President of Resides. Colette?
Thanks, Charlie. So thank you, Ija and Daniel, for being here. Also, thank you to everyone who's so graciously given up an hour of their time today. I truly believe that you'll have some takeaways that you can integrate into your businesses going forward in what I call kind of the new, newer next era of real estate. As Charlie said, I'm the President and CEO of Resides Incorporated. We are an independent and borderless MLS. And we are the only MLS in the country that provides an equity ownership model where anyone who participates in our ecosystem can receive financial gain. But most importantly, we provide an avenue for brokerages to become a strategic partner with their MLS. And when they choose to participate with us, can also reap financial benefits and also integrations that maybe they have not seen before. Our MLS was started 3 years ago. It was founded then, but it also, there was another MLS that existed prior that was a 100% broker-owned MLS and had been around for 43 years. We are in the top 25% of MLSs in the country. And when I came on board, the one thing that I found was that MLSs were not able to reinvest in themselves due to restrictions, either by being affiliated with an association and the profits that were being used that were gained by the MLS flow through to the association and maybe weren't being used back at the MLS level, or it was because of companies and vendors that MLSs were using that were chaining them to products and services that were benefiting the business models of those actual companies or Wall Street or some other avenues, and that the MLSs were unable and incapable of being as nimble and as productive as they needed to be to service their clients. So with that being said, Charlie, I'm going to hand it back over to you, and I'm looking forward to it today.
Thanks so much, Colette. Daniel, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'll do it. Glad to be here, Charlie. Thanks for having me. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm the president of Illustrated Properties here in Palm Beach, Florida. We are a luxury real estate firm with 600 sales associates and 19 offices. We've got a mortgage, title, and insurance company. As an organization, we actually operate 4 different brands here in South Florida. That includes Illustrated, but it also includes the Kai's company. In total, we've got about 3,500 associates and 52 offices from Miami to the south, all the way to a place called New Smyrna Beach to the north of Palm Beach County here. Our company is owned by Charlie, somebody you've known for a long time and somebody our viewers have known, Mike Pappas. We have one owner, and we believe that's a tremendous advantage in this type of environment. We're a full service support company with marketing and training and a network of relationships that include Luxury Portfolio or International, leading real estate companies of the world, and then now Forbes Global Properties.
Great, thank you, Daniel. Ija, a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Charlie. Thank you, everyone, for being here. My name is Ija Johnson. I've been in the industry for about 20 plus years, and 21 years now. I started out as a loan processor, a loan officer, and a real estate agent, and then I became a broker and broker owner of a Remax franchise. And then I sold it and moved over to EXP about 2 years ago. So I'm broker associate there. We have about 90,000 agents, worldwide. And so super excited about this new part of my life, over with the XP. It's been great. So I look forward to having this conversation. I think we will bring a wealth of knowledge. We're going into new territory. This reminds me of the 2008 crash. I was in the industry at that time. So, we made the adjustments. And so I'm thankful that we have panels like this. And now we can have discussions to help agents navigate through these times, because it was difficult back then, but we'll get through it together.
Well, I'm real impressed that you remember 2008. I don't remember yesterday. So, Daniel, why don't we start with you? What shift do you see happening with the settlement and the market conditions actually right now? So it's kind of a little bit of a double whammy, but what are your thoughts in terms of what we're going to see?
Well, Ija, thanks for reminding me about some times that I wish I was too young to not experience. Those were dark days, transferring money, and it was wild. Hopefully we'll never get back to that point. Charlie, I mentioned Mike Pappas, and he says this all the time. He says that everybody's for progress, but nobody's for change. Everybody's for progress, but nobody wants change. And we see it in the government. We see it in our business. I think there's going to be resistors on one end of the spectrum to all of these changes that may happen. And then there's going to be those that really take action, maybe even prematurely, because we've got to do something, we've got to respond, and we're going to have everything, every response in between. I do think that our industry will end up stronger because it will challenge our communication skills. Charlie, one of the things, it's kind of an aha moment. I think we've all, since the settlement came down, we've all had these little aha moments. And if you were just to show up as a third party arm's length person that didn't know anything about our industry, one thing you would probably say is that we communicate more thoroughly to sellers than we do buyers. We talk about, we have seminars on listing presentations and our value proposition to our sellers and marketing properties. But I don't know how much we talk about the services that we offer to our buyers, or how to ask the right questions, when we're showing properties, so we don't end up showing somebody 50 houses. It's an ugly term, but it's an industry term, and we say, buyers are liars, and that's not really true. Sometimes they don't know what they want, and it's our job to extract that information and ask the right questions so that we get the data that we want. I think the good news, Charlie, is that, and I know this really in my soul for the last 16 years, that what we offer on the buy side, list side and buy side, it's not smoke and mirrors. It's more art than science, and literally there have been billions of dollars that have been invested to disintermediate what we do, and it really hasn't worked. And it hasn't worked because we're not selling houses based on some spreadsheet here. This is the romantic side of the business. We're selling houses because somebody walks into a house and says, you know what, I feel good here. It's the intangible. To kind of use an analogy from the logistics world, if you think about something that's made by Amazon, it's made over in China or wherever, and then it goes to this place, and then it goes to a distribution center, and then maybe a sortation center, and then they've got to deliver it, what they call the last mile, to somebody's house. And that's the most complicated part of the whole process. And that's exactly what we do every day, and that's what we see our associates doing every day. I think many of the fundamentals will remain, but how we actually go about executing will obviously change a little bit.
And I would think also we can have this same group back together in September and talk about what the new practices are, because we don't know yet. So right. We'll get to that point. Ija, what are you seeing in new partnerships? You switch brokerages, but do you see some newness in terms of partnerships or M&A strategies to grow your company, or just in the industry? What's your observations?
Well, as far as partnerships, I think definitely we've been, having great collaboration and partnerships, and I think that will continue. And I think it's definitely necessary, especially for the brokerages, right? The brokers to come in and help the buyer's agents or the agents navigate through this new world, this new market. So I think the partnerships, the collaborations are definitely going to take place, and they're going to be necessary.
Think about this, right? You run a large team. You've got buyer's agents already. Are they being trained differently now because of the settlement, or are you doing something different with your buyer's agents that you did before?
Well, so we're going to have to start using the buyer's representation agreement, which I've always trained on that, right? That was always, I think, a necessary part of our book of business. Really keying in, honing in on those buyer appointments, right? We have buyer appointments, but really treating those, like Daniel said, like listing appointments, and really going in and providing the value, and listening to their needs, and going in and just no longer setting up searches on MLS, like actually looking for properties that really meet their search criteria. So yes, definitely training is going to continue, but I think it's good that we kind of have the buyer's representation agreement is going to be mandatory, because that's always one of those things that, we stress that agents should always have one, but then they get the pushback or they don't feel comfortable with it. So now it's just a part of the way we do business, right? Which is a part of the way we do business, and it should be. So I'm glad to kind of see that a part of this, our new rules. So.
Yeah. I think one thing, and then I'm going to get to Colette with a question. We're going to see more of the listing presentation taking the form that it's always taken, but now it's going to be a buyer consultation, whether it's in person or via Zoom, before you actually build that relationship any further. You've got to know the wants, the needs, but also have the opportunity to explain, for those of you who have not used buyer representation agreements because they weren't mandated in your state, to actually explain that in the consultation, that it's you have to have that instrument executed to show property. So we could go on with that all day. Colette, are we transitioning into the next era of real estate, or is it business as usual with some adjustments from the settlement rules?
So I think kind of the real question is, what is the role of the MLS going forward? And it's not necessarily just a library of listings. And so I think what we need to remember is that the value of the MLS is so much greater than just entering a listing. That traditionally, that's kind of the thought process. But the MLS needs to be thought about as more of a strategic partner for a brokerage. They are providing, or our MLS provides, avenues of compensation that have never existed before. And so brokers need to change their mindset and their thinking around how the MLS operates and what it can provide for them, and the MLS being stuck kind of in an expense column, and so that the value can be financial, as well as all the data sets and tools and services that we provide. The flexibility and freedom that has existed in the past should be greater going forward. And the library of listings and what you call the compensation field, we've never looked at the compensation field. That is not the MLS. That field is not the MLS. And so our MLS hasn't required that data be put in that compensation field since we've been in existence. And so it is more our job to unchain the MLS from these I guess preconceived ideas of what the MLS does and how it's supposed to operate. The MLS needs to, like ours, needs to reinvest in their brokers, and their brokers need to demand more of their MLS and help them navigate through this and create this ecosystem that allows them to advance their business the way they see fit and not inhibit their business structure at all. We're beyond the mere repository of listings. Independent models, they kind of recognize broader needs of agents and brokers, and the investment of MLSs back into innovative technologies to power these resources, harness the power of the data and facilitate these marketplaces and facilitate the collaboration between these agents and brokers and their clients and potential homes that they're going to be purchasing. There is a lot that still can be done to assist them in this, with the abilities to still provide guardrails. Guardrails still need to be put in place. Compliance and structure is necessary in the cooperation of the market in the marketplace. MLSs power and facilitate all of this, but it's got to be reliable, efficient, comprehensive, and it's continuously being updated. And so I think that the MLS going forward, the value needs to be understood, and what it would be like when things weren't the way they are now, because we are the envy of the world, really, as far as the real estate industry goes. And I think that the MLS has the ability now to provide more value to brokers than ever before, and these brokers need to be relying on their MLSs and looking to them as a true strategic partner on an annual basis, in which their businesses can grow with the help and maybe offset cost factors that are involved when they are paying into an MLS. And I think that this is one of the big things that MLSs have the ability to do now and should be doing going forward.
Thank you. Now, the interesting part, and I'm going to ask Daniel this question, because as brokers, we've only ever seen MLS as a library to promote compensation and cooperation. Well, Daniel, what do you think the role of an MLS is going forward without the ability to publish compensation? Is it just Colette gave us one side. Do you see the growth there, or do you just see it as a library of one-liners of what the property is, and a place for a broker to find what's available and then have to do all the other homework?
I think I heard Steve Harney say that people are, and I don't know if he came up with it or he took it from somebody, but he said people are drowning in data and they're starving for wisdom. And he talked about us moving from, in the old days, we were the gatekeeper of the information. And now we've got to be that trusted advisor that actually takes the information and makes some sense out of it. Because everybody's an expert at every doctor, every developer, every profession, every person out there is an expert in residential real estate closings now. And the only two reasons why properties don't sell is pricing or marketing. And if it's not priced right, it doesn't sell. And if it's not marketed right, it doesn't sell. And pricing something more, accurately is it's much more difficult than it was, over the last several years, because it didn't matter. We just decided what the seller wanted, and that's what we paid. But pricing is much more complicated these days, and you've got to have people that know how to do it. I do think that I think there's without some concentrated place to gather all that information and somebody to interpret it and then communicated it to our customers. I think that the MLS has a place, and it's a very valuable place. I do believe there's, and this is kind of going off on another subject, but I do believe that there's a lot of consolidation left to happen in the MLS world, so that they're operating for our benefit, which is the reason why they were created.
Absolutely, and you made reference to Steve, and what a great loss it was for the real estate industry with his passing a few months ago. So his keeping current matters really was a great source of wisdom, as you say, for a lot of us. So, we remember him. Asia, technology and AI have been buzzwords. Now, you may not be old enough to remember Y2K, but certainly it was. What do you see going forward to help tech and collaboration, and how do you see it empowering agents and brokers?
Well, I think one, technology, I came in, when I came into this industry, technology, it's just been growing, right? And so I think it's going to continue to grow. Technology has taken our industry further, right? I think we can all say that we appreciate the MLS. We used to have a book back in the day, right? And you had to just go off of that. So definitely technology is necessary. I enjoy, what I've used so far with AI. I think it is really helping. I look at the companies that are adopting AI early on, and I can really appreciate it. I see how it is helping my business as far as, getting more information out there when it comes down to marketing. So I think the technology and AI is definitely a good thing. Collaboration, that's huge for me. That's very important. I believe that we should have collaboration over competition. I think we're going to see more collaboration coming from agents with this, post-Burnett market. I mean, I think that that's a good thing, honestly. I remember, a time when the buyer, seller, and buyer's agent and listing agent could all go to the table at the same time and close a deal. And it was fine. And then we shifted to where that no longer happened. But it was kind of like we got in this mindset that it's me versus you. And I don't think that is right in our industry. Like, this is our industry. Buyers and sellers should definitely work together. The transaction, I don't think anyone should feel like they were left with the short end of the stick. You want to buy a home, you want to sell a home, let's make the deal happen. Let's collaborate, come together. Agents, I teach my agents, pick up the phone, have a conversation with the listing agent, find out what's important to the seller that's selling their home. So that way you all can work together to facilitate the deal and get the deal to the closing table. Now, again, technology is a part of that, but we still need human interaction. We can't just rely solely on technology, and I think we have started to do that more than what we should, right? We just want to send an email, we want to send a text message. No one wants to pick up the phone and have a conversation. That is still a real part and a necessary part of our industry. It's all about relationships. We are a relationship industry. Technology is just here to help, but it cannot replace the agent, and it shouldn't. So I think it just should be a great add-on.
Thank you. Here's one. Will traditional models survive moving forward? Is the traditional model sustainable?
That's for Daniel.
I know it is. I'm just curious to see if he wants to answer it.
I can take it. I can take it. We'll see. I think you would probably have to go back to the 90s to recognize a time where we were, at least, and maybe we're crazy or naive, but you'd have to go back that long to find a time when we were more excited about the business model that we have. And our business is, our industry has really two different ends of the spectrum. You can be high services and presumably, doesn't always work this way, a little bit lower split, or you can be high split and lower services. And we've chosen more support, not less. It's just the business model that we've chosen, and we can't go in another direction. The trend has been different, obviously. In this type of environment, training matters more than ever before. Community matters more than ever before. Being in the right environment so you can maximize your productivity and feel good about where you are. We've got, we do, like many companies on the call, we do top producer events, and we bring our top producers together so they can brainstorm, talk about best practices, sometimes just vent. And I get calls from top producers if we haven't done one of those in a long time, and their question is everyone feeling like I'm feeling? What is everybody else thinking? And I have to say, they're feeling exactly the way you're feeling. And that type of community is what we sell. And I'll tell you that the traditional model, it'll be interesting to see if we can widen the profit margin so we can continue to invest back into the business. That is a big challenge for us. Obviously, anybody that provides high services spends a lot of money on marketing, spends a lot of money on support. But really, when you think about it, we sell three different things. We sell support and training. We sell tools that can enhance your business, and then we sell relationships in an environment that maximizes your success. The need for all three of those is more important now than ever before. I think you're seeing a lot of people that are finding that you need to either be very big or you need to be very, very small. And that in-between spot, this is probably a whole discussion in and of itself, that in-between spot is very, very hard. And we're actually seeing that with certain things happening in our marketplace.
Thank you. Deja, how will brokers really lean into a buyer's representation environment, you know, where it's now going to be required to have the agreements? As I said earlier in my opening, many states, it's already the law, but in most it's new. So how do you see that happening in terms of the agents? I don't want to say being excited about doing it, but really leaning into a new practice.
Yeah, I think the brokers are going to have to help in that regard as well, right? Help the agents lean into it. We've already, I think, oh my goodness, last week or week before last, there was already an entire buyer presentation sent out from EXP, the buyer representation agreement in there, you know, just helping agents to really get comfortable having a buyer's appointment and also getting that buyer's representation agreement signed. Because I think that's something that we have talked about, whether it's mandatory in your state or not. I think every broker, I know me as a broker, every broker has stressed having a buyer's representation agreement, right? It's part of the business. But that's just that one thing that has not, you like, hey, did you get your buyer's representation agreement signed? And it's like, oh, no, like, well, why not? So I think the brokers can definitely lean in with more support when it comes to that and having those conversations and really assisting the agents on making sure that that happens. But, you know, now we can just say it's a requirement, you know? So.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to justify when everybody's doing it.
True. Yeah. Right. That is huge, Daniel. Yeah, because you know, if you go over here and you talk to an agent and it's like, oh, they don't require me to have that signed, well then, you know, they're just on to the next agent that, you know, fits their needs and what they want. So yeah, I think I'm like I said again, I'm excited about having that as a mandatory thing now. It should be.
Yeah, and I'll jump in and say that I do think that these buyers broker, representation agreements, they are required in South Carolina, but, MLSs can also help, facilitate some of that and make sure that these are in place in, within the MLS, even in states that are kind of slow to adopt. I think they have to step up, they have to lead, and I think brokers have to support that and know that it's for the professionalism and the best for the industry. And to your point, Daniel, there are too many MLSs, right? There needs to be way more consolidation and, more uncoupling of a direct relationship a lot of times with an association, and frankly, less data sharing. Data sharing, is been promoted as an answer, but it's not really solving the problem of an MLS that expands with you and is there with you when you need to break down a border or need some other assistance in another area. There are way too many, lines drawn around that really shouldn't exist. And so brokers are, in a data share, for instance, they believe that's a solution, but it's yet another way that data is being given away uncontrolled and they're not reaping the true benefits of it and the monetization of it once they expand. When they expand, their pocketbook should expand with that data too, that they're putting into that repository. Data sets are no good when they're siloed. They're way more valuable when they are in a larger data set and more data is being added. The MLS is so great at, adding to the data and cleansing the data and, creating a database where you can pick and choose what you need at that time and helping you develop those tools. And if you can strategically partner, let's say with an independent MLS that is willing to give you more control and give you the tools and services or access to data so you can develop tools that help you in your company at that time. And oh, just by the way, because of your participation, you're able to reap the benefits of an entire set of data versus just a single set within your brokerage. breaking the myth of, independent MLSs, which there's so few of us, right? But they have been able to maintain and promote guiding principles and ethics for decades. Most of them were developed by brokers for the reason of being able to give them some freedom and flexibility that they weren't getting elsewhere. And so the MLS today, that is advocating for brokers, gets out of their way, provides them with all this flexibility and possible financial upside, I think is going to be very important when brokers look at their strategies going forward, because it is unsure exactly. I don't think brokers get paid enough personally. I think they should make more, and I think they should make more money off of their data. And so I think that going forward, that the new era, I call her the next era of real estate, is going to be good for at the brokerage level and at the agent level, because all of this, the data and the new, probably procedures that are going to be in place, I believe is going to build up everybody together and create a higher level of professionalism across the board between the MLS, between the brokers, their agents, and the consumer, which ultimately, that's our goal, right, is to get them in the house of their dreams. We're so lucky to do this, right? So, yeah, I just wanted to add that comment, because I think that consolidation is one of the keys to, pushing the industry forward that's stuck kind of in the past in some instances, especially when it comes to MLS.
Let me just follow up, Colette, with something to that point, and then I've got a follow-up for both Ija and Daniel. You talk about different strategic ways. Do you have strategic relationships with some of the brokers in terms of working with them to promote their company, whether it's the use of data or whatever you think is strategic for them to grow their businesses? Are you developing those relationships?
Yeah, so our goal is to stay out of the way of a brokerage, right? And so, MLS tools and data can be part of their strategy. There are products and tools that the MLS provides that may be able to be integrated more with the products of the brokerage, or vice versa. Maybe the products of the brokerage, they have an idea, they have something they want to use the data for. They need data in a different way. They maybe need the data in a different set of data that they can't get on their own, that have to be leveraged through the MLS in order for them to make the best decisions for their clients. There are brokers in our marketplace right now that are working with us in order to develop some of these tools, but in a different way, right? Something that they can add to our, if you want to call it our selection of tools, but moreover, it's giving them their competitive advantage, and we're not getting in the way of them. And so if you can think of it, an MLS as a strategic partner, the economies of scale that could possibly be provided by the tools and services that they have, inputting your data into a system that is monetizing the whole data set versus just a small set of it, but also maintaining control. Everybody knows that the MLSs are local, right? That the areas that they service have all these local little pods. And there's things unique to everyone. There's unique to our area. Daniel, they're unique to New Smyrna Beach, and Ija, of course, Houston, has a lot of variety in Houston, right? And so allowing them to still be part of an MLS that is listening to them, finding unique data sets. We are developing a product now that does locate unique data sets that don't exist currently and enable someone to enter a listing more quickly, but with more information. We also developed a product with the help of some of our brokers that is called Data Meter, but it actually will help you determine what is your data worth. And what is it worth when I put it in the MLS, and what are the possible outcomes of that data? And it's also what the market and the economy will bear in a lot of instances, but we reevaluate that annually and determine what the data is worth on an annual basis. And the MLS is able to have more than one source of income, which is not just a subscription to the MLS.
Great. One of the things that our company's done, we now have meetings, Zoom meetings every 2 weeks, just to address the misinformation between anything that's on the internet or that some of the most well-known sources, and I won't name them, but they have 3 letters, and one starts with N and one starts with W, that just talk about our industry, and they're incorrect. It's not a matter of misleading, it's just incorrect information. I love when they talk about a certain commission percentage is dead, yet our industry has always been a commission, brokerage fee, compensation's always been negotiable, but all of a sudden the standard is gone. So we've done that every 2 weeks, and we continue to do it every 2 weeks just to keep our team up to date with what's going on. So,
And why shouldn't your brokerage or any other brokerage be an equity owner in your MLS? You're bringing that data in. You should be reaping the benefits of the tools and services that come out of your MLS.
Yep, no, it's certainly interesting, and new for a lot of us to see what the options are out there. Question that gets asked of me all the time, so I'm going to turn the tables and ask all of you. Ija, I'll start with you. What keeps you up at night about the industry?
Absolutely nothing. We always adjust. Being in this industry, it hadn't been one way the entire time I've been in it. We've always adjusted, whether it is on a national level or local, right? Our markets are different. You could have Houston's is huge, and so we've had times where certain parts of town were really, really hot, and we had to adjust and do things differently. So this industry just keeps us on our toes, is what I say, but there's nothing that really keeps me up at night. We will adjust. The things that have come out in this settlement, I'm just kind of like, well, I mean, like you said, Charlie, we never really had, our commission is negotiable. So why are we even making this a big deal? Okay, we don't put the commission in the MLS. Okay, pick up the phone and have a conversation with the agent. Are we not able to talk anymore? Like, it's just, I understand that this is a big thing that has taken place, but I don't think that we need to all just tuck our tails and get scared and run or anything like that. We adjust. Our industry is relentless. They need us. Everyone needs to buy a home. If you can buy a home, you're going to buy a home, right? You need to sell a home, you're going to sell a home. So I think we can just all breathe, take our time with this, figure out whatever the new rules, things that we're gonna have to put in place, make the necessary adjustments, and just do that. But nothing really keeps me up at night, just to be honest with
you. Daniel, since Ija sleeps well, anything that keeps you up?
I got a long list of things I need to send her so she can be up with me at 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't know that a lot of those things have to do with this suit. I think this will yield a cleansing of the industry somewhat. It will be a opportunity for some people to use as an excuse to get out, but they were going to get out anyway. I think that from an industry standpoint, the things that worry me, and I want to talk about this all the time, but we need to always continue to raise the standards of professionalism, integrity, the barrier to entry to get in our business, which is really, really important, especially now. I'll tell you this, and I don't know if I've heard a lot of people talking about it, but if we are truly going to put our commission inside the offer, which is something that we have tried not to do before because we don't want to interfere with whether or not the transaction gets through. We don't want our commission to get in there. To hire ethical people and people that are absolutely looking out for the customer is more important than ever before. I think the second thing that worries me, and I've kind of alluded to it, is it's the margin on that company side. So from a buyer and seller standpoint, there is a need for full service, full energy, all in marketing, tools, everything. And when you're talking about real estate associates, we're seeing the same thing. In fact, I've got a $53 million team that's coming to our company as of last night, and they're coming not for a higher commission rate. They're coming for more support and that all-in energy, that sense of community, and to be able to invest in those things we've got to have the margin on the company side, and of course everybody's company dollar percentage, from here to California is declining year after year, and so that's something that we do need to address because there is a need in the market, and we want to be able to fill it.
Great. Colette, anything?
Yes, I'm in Daniel's ballpark on this one. So, I think, I'm one of those people that, says, you have to think big, to do big, to win big, right? And it seems like we're in an atmosphere that attempts to devalue what a brokerage brings to the consumer. And it couldn't be more inaccurate. I know, Charlie, you're alluding to, what's out there, on the internet, basically. And it's hard to, to battle back at that. Our industry, I don't believe another thing, besides it trying to be devaluing to, an industry that does so much unbelievable good and is so highly needed in the marketplace in order to transact these real estate, processes. It's a shame. But then the second thing is that the industry flat out just doesn't change fast enough. They are the feet are in cement, and we want to wait one more day, just one more day, and we face that in the MLS a lot. But in our MLS pushes change. We definitely lead. We definitely try to kind of set a bar that's much higher, that pushes people to do things that send them out of their comfort zone, right? And it doesn't make them happy, but they aren't seeing the forest for the trees, right? They don't look ahead to see what is going to happen once they adapt in this manner. And it's very hard because sometimes because of the demographic of the average real estate agent, they maybe aren't as likely, they're at a different place in life. And then the third thing that bothers me is the lack of understanding of the value of the MLS in their business and how they aren't looking to an MLS. Most agents and brokers don't look to their MLS as a strategic partner and a way to get a leg up. I don't think they ask enough questions. I don't think they ask for enough. And I don't think they demand that the bar is set really, really high so that they can, the brokerage can go in back to their business plan and have something that works for them without any barriers to expansion or development of products and services.
Thank you, Colette. And I really want to thank the whole panel. And I'm going to really look into the future. We talk about innovation all the time. Let's make believe we're Bill Gates in a garage and we're going to create the Microsoft of real estate. What do you think the biggest change coming in the real estate business could be in the future? And think about it maybe from the standpoint of a new entrant into the business, whatever it could be. Do you see one of these major corporations down the road saying, you know what, this is an opportunity to get into the real estate industry, or whatever? So some thoughts. I'll start with you, Daniel.
Well, there are probably smarter people on this call than I, but I think the opportunity, I don't know exactly what it looks like, but I think the opportunity is somebody figuring out how to marry that, that incredible data with the relationship and trust aspect of the business. I read something the other day, Tom Brokaw, who's a hero. He said, no text message can ever replace the first kiss, and if you go to any of our 19 offices, you see that every day. I mean, the things that you have to do to get to the closing table and the trust that the client has to have in you to back off or to make a higher offer or to be okay with that little blemish on the inspection. The data is very powerful, but that in and of itself isn't the answer without the prerequisite, which is, of course, is somebody that can crystallize that information, make it make sense, and then deliver it, to a consumer by a messenger that the consumer trusts. And so, there's been lots of disruption, and again, billions of dollars invested into our business with regard to the data, but you're not necessarily seeing any of those. You see them as vendors of ours, but you're not necessarily seeing them jump into the operational part of the business and take that data and marry it with the buying and selling of real estate and all the things that our folks do on a day-to-day basis.
Ija, your thoughts?
Well, Daniel said a lot. I definitely think it's the data, right? And also, Colette, to what she talked about, definitely I look forward to seeing the, more of the collaboration and condensed MLS systems. So definitely there's someone out there that if they can figure out looking at the data to make our industry a little bit better. Yeah, so.
Colette, your thoughts? And thank you again for being the sponsor today.
Certainly. So yeah, so the brokerage, I believe, should be never have to belong to more than one MLS again. That's where we need to be. And that doesn't necessarily mean that all the MLSs are going to go away. There should be this one-click data entry so that you're never having to manually enter a listing again. And it should come from the broker. It should be in their workflow, in their transaction processes. It should be as efficient as possible, and understanding, what that data is worth, developing a product that can assess value of data. I think that brokers can, look to partner with their MLS, benefit from this symbiotic relationship where the profits are shared and reinvested for like the collective benefit of all the stakeholders, which, as to Daniel's point, which is tools and services that put all of that data and all the analysis of that data in the hands of the person who is right there in front of their customer and in front of that home that they see as, where they're going to live their life. And I think that is what is so important. And we have to get there. And I think that those three items, those principles of having one MLS, one-click data entry, and understanding that you can have a great relationship and a symbiotic relationship with your MLS and let them help you be strategic in what you do and give you a leg up. I think that's what we need going forward.
It's interesting, over my 40 plus years in the business, Ija made reference earlier to the MLS books, and yet when I started, it was a messenger service that delivered every other day 5.5 by 8.5 sheets of new listings, and then you would get 1 page of adjustments. So you had to, by hand, change the asking price if it dropped from $289 to $279, and if you didn't, you'd misrepresent the price. But the one thing that I can tell you that I think, to me, the biggest change is going to be is our business has always been personal relationships. I can tell you that the top agents in our company, and I'm sure many companies, it's the personal relationships they have with the buyers and sellers that they've had for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And some of the top producers in our business know how to market themselves better than anybody else to their sphere of influence. I remember sitting in a session where somebody posted on a screen, maybe the next group of people in our business are Amazon, Home Depot, American Express, and all the different large companies. And now Amazon, when they deliver packages, will actually promote and take advertising in zip codes for the real estate industry. So we have one of our agents that bought a zip code. So every Amazon package that gets delivered over a period of time has his picture. Kind of interesting how this business changes, and we don't know who the next, group is. So I just want to thank the three of you, Daniel, EJ, and Colette, for joining us today. As all of you know, and the hundreds of people that have been with us, we're all going to learn what happens in the next few months. The judge will hopefully approve or look at the settlements that are on the table. in early May. But irrespective of that, the MLSs still have to make those changes so that compensation is not displayed and that buyer agency agreements and buyer representation agreements do become the norm in our business going forward. So hopefully we'll have a chance, the four of us, to reconvene again in September and see if the questions and the answers are still the same. So I just want to thank you on behalf of RISMedia today in joining us, and look forward to continuing the conversation in the future. So thank you all.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie. Thanks, Daniel and Asia.
Absolutely.
Thanks.